more fuel!
Hey guys, in today's video I will answer some really important questions about penetration. Well, how does it work and which pen item is the way to go? At the end of the video you will see some calculations I made with the damage mitigation formula and stuff like that. So as you can see here, when pressing K, the second ability called Flame Wave should do 290 plus 25, so 315 damage. The big question now is, why am I only doing 230 damage? As you can see in the left bottom corner, 102 damage was mitigated. Now let's see how the damage will change when we use the penetration boots. So we do 237 damage. That is 24 more damage than with Shoes of the Focus. Now, before we do the math, let's check how other penetration items work. Starting off with Spear of the Magus, and I also get Bancroft's Talon just to have a certain amount of magical power so I can compare it better with Obsidian Shard later. So now you see we have 300 plus 84 damage on our ultimate called Rainfire. And now let's see how much damage one shot of the ult will do. Well, okay, 289 damage. It's about 100 damage less. But because of the passive of Spear, we want to attack at least 3 times to make full use of its passive. Now let's see again. Well, that is definitely a difference, starting with 289 damage and doing 371 damage at the end, which means we are close to doing true damage right now. Now we will do the same test again with Obsidian Shard while having the same amount of magical power to make comparison much easier. Surprise, surprise, the damage remains the same on all shots with 291 damage. So in total we did 873 damage, while with Spear we did 985 damage. Well, now we saw that Spear is definitely better on mages with dot damage in early game. But now let's see how the damage behaves when our opponent has full magical protection. As we can see here, Rainfire displays a damage of 300 plus 367.5. That is 667.5 damage. Ymir has a lot of magical protection right here with 325 protections. Starting with 169 damage, our maximum damage was 215, so in total we did 573 damage. Now the test with Obsidian Shard. 3 times 220 damage, which is in total 660 damage, so 87 points higher than with Spear. That basically means there has to be a certain point where Obsidian Shard is better than Spear. So let's do some mathematics. So first of all, we have to look at the damage mitigation formula. The formula is damage times 100 divided by 100 plus x, where x is your armor. Well, now let's compare. Before we can compare Obsidian Shard with Spear of the Magus, we have to know that at first the percentage armor reduction gets its effect. Now before we can compare Obsidian Shard with before we can compare Obsidian Shard with Spear of the Magus, we have to know that the protection is affected at first by the percentage armor reduction that we have here. then the flat armor reduction, after that the percentage armor penetration, and then the flat penetration. So now we have spear with 15 penetration, and then the 10 flat armor reduction. We have 2 stacks possible, and of course the 10% armor reduction. Again, 2 stacks possible. If we compare it with Obsidian Shard only has 33 armor penetration. Now we only have to focus on the second part of the formula, the 100 plus X part, because that's how the armor affects the formula. So the calculation on Obsidian Shard works like this. Let's say the enemy has 100 protections. That means in the formula we put in the second part here 100 plus protections, so 100, times 1.67. Why 1.67? Because Obsidian Shard is penetrating the armor with 33%. So we want the 100 protections here to be 33% less. So now when we want to calculate the spear, we have to keep in mind the order of penetration, how that works. So that means we start with 20% armor reduction, so we have 2 stacks of 10%. And after that the flat armor reduction, so again 20, and then the 15 penetration. It looks like this. So 100 plus the protection times 1.8 minus 20 minus 15. So now let's check at which point Obsidian Shard is better than Spear. Starting with 100 protections, we see that Obsidian Shard gives us a higher denominator with 167. Spear gives us the denominator of 145. Now let's increase the protections. Now with 200 protections, the denominator of Obsidian Shard is still higher than with Spear. Increasing the protections again. So as you can see, the denominator of both items gets closer to each other. Increasing the protections again. So at around 270 protections, Obsidian Shard is a better option than Spear. Now to prove that the formula is the right formula, I made the following example from the video. Ymir had a protection of 163, Agni magical power of 190 with Spear, Shoes of the Magi and Bancrofts. So the ultimate damage was displayed as 414. The video showed that the damage after the protections were 178, then 200, then 229. So we can prove that with the formula right here. 414 times 100 divided by 100 plus the protections of 163 minus 30. 30 is the penetration of Shoes of the Magi and Spear. That's only the first hit of the ultimate. The second shot did around 200 damage, because 414 times 100 divided by 100 plus the protections of 163 times 1.9, the percentage armor reduction of Spear, minus 10, the flat armor reduction of Spear, minus 30, the penetration of Magi and Spear. On this list you can see a list of magical penetration items and physical penetration items. So items that give you percentage armor reduction are Demonic Grip, Spear of the Magus and Executioner. Flat armor reduction, Voidstone, Demonic Grip, Spear of the Magus, Executioner and Void Shield. Percentage armor penetration, Obsidian Shard and Titan's Bane. Flat penetration, Shoes of the Magi, Spear of the Magus and Dynasty Plate Helm. AZ or AZ, Warrior Tabby, Brawler Speed Stick, and Jotun's Res. I hope this video was kind of useful for you. If you liked it, if it helped you, please comment and like the video and maybe subscribe.